Hey everybody, thought I would chronic this a little bit, this hike that I'm on, and give you a small update as well. However, one thing I will say is I'm not using a GoPro because I don't plan for these things. In a sense, it's more organic. But wanted to explain more about things that are going on and sort of progressions in general. So you can take a look at the outside here. It's really nice. I just come out here and I'm mostly by myself for the most of the trail. One time I actually met a woman who was pretty nice, and we just came back from the end of the trail. And she was very familiar with these area. She says she has a condo in Lake Tahoe, which is about 40 minutes away. So that's probably why she comes out here. But for me, I'm about an hour and a half away in Sacramento. So anyway, this is probably the third or fourth weekend in a row that I've been out here, and it's pretty nice. I spent about 4 to 5 hours on the hike, and obviously, 3 hours of driving, and it's worth it to me. A lot of gas money, but it's fine. So I think, let me take a look at that water. I think things have been pretty good so far. Working out pretty good so far. This whole employment switch was a pretty drastic change for me, at least in the short term, because they're like a very specialized firm, and being a specialized firm, not quite used to just honing in on one type of thing. So they really want me to go fast, and there were localizations of that, the previous firm, but for the most part we did so much that it didn't quite matter how efficient you were. If you were not quite efficient, they'll put you down for it. But then you were working on something else involving a different material and a different set of parameters that was more random than anything. So it wasn't quite expected that you could do it quickly, but more so take your time and figure it out. But they actually have the power to say for me and their other employees to go faster, because everything is very direct. The only thing I would say is that it's kind of difficult for me to hone in. So this is specifically wood trusses, and that's all we look at all day. And I would say my deficiency is related to just not practicing specialization in general, honing in on one thing. So anyway, just thought I would throw that out there. But in general, I'm getting paid a lot more, and it's allowed me to invest into my property, put more money in, and allowed me to basically get home at 6 or 7, or finish work by a reasonable time and get home at about 6 or 7, and closer to 7, and that's allowed me to work on other projects and stuff like that after work until I sleep at like 9 to 10. But what was I gonna say? Well, the thing is, it's a pretty good progress, because I'm paying off my mortgage really fast, and I'm gonna be done with that in 2 years, 2.5 years maximum. And that I didn't really see that coming. In some ways I got lucky, so that's good. And also, I just don't know what's at the end of the tunnel in terms of all this stuff going on. I keep saying I'm not quite sure what's gonna happen by that point, because I would have finished everything I wanted to do by that point almost. And it's like, well, I'm not trying to have kids. I'm not trying to have a family. I'm not trying to get screwed over on a marriage, you know? So, you know, I'm trying to enjoy life more. Like, I'm trying to take more vacations, you know, when that happens. But, you know, it's funny because I haven't been to the doctor in probably about, was it 3 years? And I don't really know what the state of that is, but what I am doing about it is almost the way you're supposed to do it. I mean, I eat pretty healthy with a lot of vegetables, stuff like that, although I still kind of have the junk from time to time. And my girlfriend gave me a sweet tooth, and in like the last month or so. So hopefully that's gonna wane down, but yeah, but in general everything else is pretty good. As far as structural engineering goes, it seems like a lot of companies like to focus on computer science, and I don't understand really what the big deal of that is, because it's like when I was going to Berkeley, everybody assumed I was majoring in EECS, you know, electrical engineering, computer science. And that's not something that I was trying to get into. Like, I like mechanics, but the thing is, you know, the whole idea of computer programming is you really have to have your ideas like flushed out, and everything has to be like perfect before you can start doing programming, before you can start, you know, working through it. But in my case, in my particular mind, it's not, mechanics are never fixed. I'm constantly looking at updating my understanding of how mechanics works. And so much so that now I'm starting to get into statistical mechanics. And that's been opening my eyes a lot more. In my opinion, structural engineers need to learn statistical mechanics, because in order to design structures that are new, like an actual new type of structure, and that can come in many forms, but not necessarily what we know about right now, it's going to require statistical mechanics, I think. And that could be a number of things. It could be the terrain that you're in. So maybe, and I know I'm going far out, but it could have something to do with, meaning the planet you're on, which is kind of sounds crazy, but it could also have to do with, you know, electromagnetic floating structures. But the idea is, I mean, we've been like focused on the same thing architecturally for a very long time. And if we just assume that we're going to have the same thing for years and years, decades, we're still going to be stuck in the same, you know, pandemic related thoughts, and we're just going to die out. Basically, we're not going to thrive anymore. That's what I think, at least. So I'm always, you know, updating my understanding of mechanics, and I'm always keeping an eye out for that. So for me, it's never fixed. It's like, well, it's never like, oh, well, let's go ahead and use MATLAB right now or whatever to program this thing and figure out. No, it's like, well, let me think about different ways that this is going to work. So I'm not an academic, but on the other hand, I'm not ready to like form a corporation or anything like that would require programming. So I understand like why corporations are fixated on that idea of getting programming incorporated within their own circle of competence, I guess you could say. But it's not for me. Anyway, so the progression is working out pretty well because, like I said, I'm making a lot more. But on the other hand, I feel like I don't have that much value to give to companies because I'm not interested in those things. And so I don't know if there's going to come a point where somebody might try to, you know, like not like not necessarily fire me, but try to like put me in a corner where it's like if I don't do something right, then they're just going to say, you know, get out of this firm. I don't know if that's going to happen, but we'll see. And I don't know how this is going to work because everything is tied to those goals that I have. So I just go home at like 5 or 6 or whatever, and I never want to do overtime because you don't get, not only do you not get paid for that, but the overtime, you know, you're wasting time on things that you could be doing, you know, like even going to the gym or something, just anything. So yeah, that's all I got for now. Thanks for watching. Take care.